Breaking right now, the British royal family mired in one of its biggest crises in history. But if you thought the Prince Andrew scandal was the end of the changes that are coming under King William V, let me tell you, you are wrong. Today, I can confirm plans by the heir to the throne to strip Prince Harry, Meghan Markle, Archie and Lily of all royal titles as William's fury over the situation regarding the former Duke of York grows. Because William, let me be clear, does not believe his father, the cancer-stricken king, has gone far enough. He thinks Andrew should not even be a prince. He certainly should not be in the United Kingdom. Exile is the only answer. But the problem is that requires an act of parliament. That act of parliament, I am told, William also intends to use to finally jettison the Sussexes so that they would no longer have a title whatsoever and their children would lose what Meghan Markle once referred to as their birthright. This is going to be Prince William getting tough. And we already saw the impact that he is having, because while this is an incredibly difficult conversation to have, the power has already shifted to the heir in quite some way, given Charles's health struggles grow. He did make an appearance today in Manchester at the scene of the synagogue attack, which shook this country very recently. But it's heartbreaking to see. Charles is really, really struggling with his cancer treatment. And while obviously there is hope that his prognosis means he will stay alive for at least a few years, the power within the British monarchy is shifting. So we've got so much to get into today in what has been a seismic 48 hours for the British monarchy, its future very much at stake. So let's team up now with the Royal News Network and its editor, Brittany. Brittany, look, King William V is very, very clear in his plans. Charles has not gone far enough, according to him, but this isn't just about the former Duke of York and the former Duchess of York. At the absolute forefront of his mind are Harry, Meghan, Archie and Lilibet, and trust me, Brittany, they are going to have their titles stripped too. Would that be the right decision? I need you to do something for me right now. It is free, it is easy, it is simple. Just hit that subscribe button on YouTube. That's because over 50% of you watching this video haven't done that yet.
I really think it would, Dan. I think William is absolutely right here, especially when it comes to both dealing with his brother and his uncle, because something has to be done to preserve the future of the monarchy, because Harry and Andrew are both massive risks, and it's a risk that needs to be assessed very quickly here. And I think definitely there could be a route forwards where their titles are stripped, and I think that's the only way to go. And I think the future in some ways can only be secured if they go in that direction. And so this will be a very bold move. It'll be one that definitely damages his relationship with his brother. I don't think there's much of a relationship between William and Andrew, but I think Harry and Meghan should be shaking in their boots right now if they are not already. And they could have had the best of all worlds if they had played their cards right. But this was a route Harry and Meghan decided to go down where they trashed their family, and this is the result.
It absolutely is, Brittany. It absolutely is. And look, what I just want to point out here is that the British public are not really getting the truth at the moment from the Royal Rota, which is the official mainstream media network that reports on the British royal family, because they are in the pocket of both Buckingham Palace and Kensington Palace. And so while it is difficult in some ways for me to report on these tensions which have been ongoing between Charles and William, and also the extent of Charles's health struggles, You know, Brittany, that I have the view that daylight is the best disinfectant and that I do have to report the truth because it's what I did right back in 2019 when there was all of that tension going on behind the scenes with Meghan and Harry and the late Queen Elizabeth II, and the mainstream media would not report it. But this is a serious power struggle that is going on. And of course, Brittany, and I really want to emphasize this, William obviously has the utmost respect for his father as a man, as a human being, and he is desperately sad about this cancer battle. And by the way, for William, the idea that he's probably going to take the throne in his 40s when his children are still young is not what he wants. But these are the cards that have been dealt, Brittany, and William is very, very clear that he cannot have Andrew and he cannot have Prince Harry and he cannot have Meghan Markle doing potentially untold damage to an institution which, let's be honest, is going to struggle a little bit during this modernization era.
It is. And we can see it already. I think the struggles and the tensions between, how do they move forward digitally and these sorts of things? Because I feel like we're seeing a slow adoption of, let's say, some video and social media and these sorts of things. And so the monarchy is very much, I think, struggling to modernize in some way here more than some of its other counterparts. And I'm sure William loves his father, doesn't want to think that his father isn't going to be around for 10 to 15, 20 more years. William, to his credit, is very much trying to set up his future, and I think that's a really, really smart thing to do. He's very aware of that future, and I think that is definitely a great direction to go in, but one I think that'll be a big struggle as well as they sort of kind of balance this father-son dynamic.
The thing is, Brittany, when you think about this, right, William is going to be ruthless in what he sees as necessary changes to the British royal family. Now, traditionalists like you and me will probably struggle with some of these changes, but he has a big picture in mind, which, by the way, might mean that he's not head of the Commonwealth, might mean that he's not head of the Church of England. I mean, these are previously unthinkables. But what I'm very, very clear on is that there will be a streamlined monarchy. And if you are causing trouble for the institution, which, let's be in no doubt, Andrew, Fergie, even his daughters, and Harry, Meghan, and their children are doing, he's just not going to countenance it. So there will be an act of parliament. They will be stripped. They will not attend the coronation. This is all reporting that I have been doing for years now, to be honest. William's thinking is not new on this. But of course, with all of the new revelations over Andrew, Jeffrey Epstein, and Virginia Giuffre that have come to the surface, in terms of William's state of mind, this was crunch time. And the pressure that he had to put on his father was very, very serious. And of course, there is a real frustration for William, Brittany, that in some ways Charles reopened the door to Andrew and Fergie and Harry. Like William was the one, and we were reporting it at the time, that was saying, Papa, what are you doing? What are you doing? Meeting Harry is only going to lead to heartache. And sure enough, what happened? Lots of leaks about what happened at the meeting, lots of leaks about security. But Charles is a softie in a lot of ways, and he wants to be seen as a king of reconciliation, especially in his dying days. That has become very important to him. That is not where William's headspace is at. So what we do see is now quite an incredible clash going on behind the scenes between the monarch and the heir. But again, some people won't like me reporting this. It's just the truth, and I will stick to reporting the truth. But I just want to be clear, this is not about William's respect for his father. It is about what he believes needs to be done in order to maintain the future of the British monarchy. Now, I know Tom Sykes is a very controversial figure in royal reporting circles, but he has been completely on this story from the start as well. And he is reporting very similar over the weekend, and I want to take you through this, Brittany. He writes, King William V to strip Prince Harry Andrew, Archie, Lilibet, Beatrice, and Eugenie of their HRH titles, and friends of the prince tell the royalists that William plans sweeping reforms when he becomes king, using new letters patent to remove princely styles from non-working royals. Let me take you through the reporting where he writes, the dramatic change will be effected by an executive royal order known as letters patent ratified by Parliament in the early weeks of the reign of King William V. It will remove princely titles not just from Andrew, but also from Beatrice, Eugenie, Harry, Archie, and Lilibet. The children of Prince Edward and Princess Anne have never used princely titles. Meghan and Harry will also see their dukedoms and HRHs formally revoked by the new king, the source said. Meghan continues to use her HRH despite being ordered not to do so by the late Queen Elizabeth II. A source said William's own children may have their titles informally parked until they become adults and can decide for themselves if they want to be full-time working royals or lead lives as private citizens. The source said they are never addressed as prince or princess in any situation by their parents, teachers, staff, or family. William is understood to have lobbied hard for Andrew to have his prince title removed and to be dissatisfied with the settlement announced Friday, which sees Andrew voluntarily stop using his Duke of York title while still being referred to as Prince Andrew. Just this week, the king's own aides were briefing the media that it was not worth removing the dukedom, as prince sounded grander than duke anyway. An ally of William's told the royalist on Wednesday the king's office was saying that removing the dukedom would be a completely lame and ineffectual gesture unless you took away the prince title as well. On Friday, it's suddenly the other way round, and persuading him to drop the duke title without even taking it away is being held up as a triumph of the king's steely will. His operation is a mess. Another friend of William's who told the royalist about the plan to remove a huge swath of princely titles said, "It should have been done by Charles this week, but William knows he doesn't have the strength because of his illness. William is understanding of his father's situation. William won't be afraid to take the next step." They added, William thinks about Queen Margaret of Denmark a lot. And in 2022, Queen Margaret II removed princely titles from 4 of her grandchildren, Nikolai, Felix, Henrik, and Athena. The Queen said the decision was made to allow her grandchildren greater freedom to shape their own lives. So, Brittany, the reality here is, if Charles isn't tougher, if he doesn't ask the British government to act, it will be something that King William V does. And what I believe that does is pile the pressure further on Charles to do more sooner.
It does. And I think in many ways, Charles feels the pressure already, and Charles maybe wants to act more. But when you're dealing with somebody who has cancer and potentially terminal cancer, they're wanting to reconnect with their family. And that's what so much of that is driving Charles, I think, is this desire to reconnect with Harry, especially if he's looking at something where the end is going to come, let's say, within the next couple of years. He wants this relationship with his son, and I can't fault him for that. But I think Charles' greatest legacy in this instance is going to make the really hard decisions about his son, his brother, and his nieces, and his grandson and granddaughter. And that is to maybe strip the titles because they are a burden on the monarchy. They're not adding value to it at this point. And the best thing to do to preserve it is to actually get rid of these, let's say, more negative, toxic elements. And that's going to be harsh. It's going to be difficult because the challenge with a monarchy is, of course, is that you're dealing with both family and you're dealing with a dynastic implication. Because even in Denmark, the removing of the title of Queen Marguerite's grandchildren, her son did not appreciate that at all. He was, in fact, very angry about it. And so that can cause family tensions. But sometimes that is the thing that you have to do to preserve the future. And the monarchy, I would say in the UK, is looking pretty unstable right now. And you do have the massive distraction of Andrew and Harry and Meghan and Sarah as well. And so to get rid of those four individuals and take them out of contention, pull them away, separate them from the brand because they're not doing it themselves, sometimes that's what you have to do.
Indeed, you do. And Brittany, there is increasing, I guess, pressure over the weekend on Charles to go further anyway. Because, of course, by allowing his brother to voluntarily give up the dukedom, what it means is that it's a bit like Harry and Meghan at the moment. They can keep secretly calling themselves HRHs. We know that Meghan refers to herself as the Duchess of Sussex constantly in order to hawk products. And Andrew Lowney, who is the author of this book entitled, which you could argue was the start of Andrew's most recent downfall, is very, very clear that more has to be done. Brittany, there is now at least an informal Met Police investigation going on into Prince Andrew regarding these claims in the Mail on Sunday over the weekend that he passed Virginia Giuffre's social security number to his private protection officer back in 2011, the suggestion that he was in some ways trying to dig up dirt on his accuser using, you know, someone in authority who should not be used for that purpose.
Yes. And when it comes to Andrew, I think there are so many questions about, especially about the legality of his dealings when he was the special envoy of trade for the UK. And so I think there is definitely a worthwhile investigation, Dan, to go through all the wheeling and dealing that he was doing, supposedly on behalf of the British government, but really, as we found out, Andrew Lowney goes into this in quite a bit of detail, mostly for himself. And I think for the future of the monarchy, and this is not just in the UK, because this is not a UK problem. There have been problems in Spain, in Norway, in other countries regarding spares and their activities and these sorts of things. And so there needs to be a system in place to make royals aware that if you step out of line, if you step out of X, Y, and Z bubble, there will be punishments for that. Because the problem with Andrew, the problem with Harry and Meghan is that there is seemingly no recourse. They are told not to use their HRH, and they do. They're told not to use their titles, and they do. And so they do that because there's really no way for anybody to punish them and to hold them account for the agreements that they made. And I think for the future of the monarchy, it should be abundantly clear that if you cross a line, there will be a punishment here for that, whatever that happens to be. And I think that will result in a healthier monarchy and something that absolutely must be done. And perhaps it's harshest on Andrew, Harry, and Meghan and Sarah because they have been the problems right now. And it's the only way to, I think, preserve the monarchy in the future is to make the people aware, hey, these people, yes, they're royals. Yes, they stand on a balcony. Yes, they do all these things. But there is a code of conduct in place. And if they're made aware via the palace or the public that somebody has stepped out of line, they will be held accountable for that.
Yeah, indeed. I mean, one of the issues here, Brittany, of course, is that this has been a drip over now nearly 2 decades. And I've always been very, very clear that when people try and criticize the British MSM for going easy on Prince Andrew and hard on Prince Harry, they are barking up the wrong tree. Okay? Because, Brittany, I was working at the News of the World in a senior position back in 2011, which I know is a controversial thing in itself now, given what happened with News of the World, but obviously I was not involved in any of the earlier criminality there and have testified on that many times. But the News of the World, Brittany, was the newspaper that revealed that Prince Andrew had secretly gone to meet Epstein by posting those bombshell pictures of him in Central Park. And so without the media focus on Prince Andrew since 2011, this story would have been covered up, right? The establishment wanted to cover it up. The deep state wanted to cover it up. At the same time, Brittany, I've also tried to take away some of the hysteria in terms of the reporting of Prince Andrew too. Because, and again, I will be criticised for this, but both him and Ghislaine Maxwell have been used as the British fall guys for a lot of terrible behaviour, Brittany, by Americans, okay? Like, there's no comeuppance for Bill Gates. There's no comeuppance for Bill Clinton. There's no comeuppance for Katie Couric. I mean, Katie Couric, the woman who we saw posing with Harry and Meghan at this fake humanitarian award last week, talking about how they are these incredible champions of good causes, was at the same dinner party with Jeffrey Epstein and Prince Andrew after he was released from prison, okay? So all I'm saying is that we do have to also not buy into some of the hysteria that Andrew was as bad as Epstein, okay? Because there are a lot of Americans, very high-powered Americans, who had closer relationships with Epstein than Prince Andrew did. I also, Brittany, want to point out that that at the time when Andrew had an opportunity to truly clear his name in court and intended to do so and wanted to do so, the entire British royal establishment and deep state came down on him like a ton of bricks and said, you cannot go to court against Virginia Giuffre because you will destroy your mother's platinum jubilee. We now know, Brittany, and a lot of us knew at the time, that Queen Elizabeth II was dying at that point. The bone cancer and the blood cancer was spreading through her body, and everyone knew that the stress of that trial on her would probably hasten the end of her life. So Andrew, in some ways, fell on his sword because he was never able to clear his name in court. So that is not to defend his behavior for a single second. And the fact that he lied about his ongoing relationship with Epstein, and the fact that Fergie was begging for money, $50,000, $100,000, and it was Epstein, the paedophile, who actually ended up dropping her, is all appalling, okay? But I'm just saying that this isn't all on Andrew, okay? And if you truly, truly do care about uncovering the extent of the crimes of Jeffrey Epstein, then there's a lot of Americans and a lot of powerful American Democrats who deserve some comeuppance too. So for all of the criticism of Charles over this, and you know I've been critical, at least he has taken action against his own brother in a way that you haven't seen many Americans have to face justice for their relationships with Jeffrey Epstein.
The challenge with the Jeffrey Epstein case in so many ways, Dan, which you highlighted so well, is that it's so much of a focus on Andrew because Andrew is the one who really continued sort of a somewhat public relationship with him while pretty much all the Americans took two giant steps back. And so Andrew really truly became the fall guy for all of this. But there are so many questions about other people who are wheeling and dealing with Jeffrey Epstein. And there's even the Crown Princess of Norway also actually met with Jeffrey Epstein at some point. So this guy was wheeling and dealing all over the place. And who knows how many people were involved in some of his nefarious dealings. I mean, that's a huge question that must be investigated and explored. And yet at the same time, there will always be a giant question mark over the case because Epstein is dead. Virginia Giuffre is also dead now. And so there's just no way to really, I think, bring this case to a strong conclusion. So there's just a mass hysteria over it. And Andrew has somewhat played his cards well, you could say, by keeping mostly quiet since 2019, which has been the exact opposite of Harry and Meghan. Harry and Meghan have very much flaunted so many things, and I think that's why they get such a stronger reaction in some ways than Prince Andrew. I think Prince Andrew's silence on this matter since at least 2019 has helped him in a lot of ways, whereas Harry and Meghan just are constantly using their titles, exploiting their royal connections to make money while also trashing his family. It's just very different, but yes, both the same, both damaging to the monarchy and must be addressed.
They are damaging, and they're damaging in different ways. But Brittany, I think you raise a really fair point. And again, it's a point that I know I'll be criticised for making, okay? But Buckingham Palace, trust me, view Harry and Meghan as a much bigger ongoing threat to the British monarchy than Andrew and Fergie. Because for all the will in the world, Andrew and Fergie, who have done terrible things that I've criticised over the past 2 decades, okay? Go back and look, are not out to destroy the British monarchy. That's a big difference. Harry and Meghan are. The other thing is that Andrew and Fergie are finished. Okay, they are finished. They will die as royal disgraces.
It's official, everyone. The gloves are off, the diplomatic niceties are out the window. And if the latest reports out of London are anything to go by, it is war. For years, Prince Harry and Meghan Markle have tried to have their cake and eat it too. They ran away to California screaming for privacy, yet they've spent every single waking second since then commercializing their royal ties. They trash the institution on global television, slam the king, belittle the traditions, yet they cling onto those shiny titles like their entire lifestyle depends on them. Because, let's be honest, it does. But guess what? The party might finally be coming to a screeching halt. Reports are circulating from deep within palace corridors that Prince William is quietly preparing the biggest, most aggressive royal overhaul in modern history. And top of his hit list? Stripping Prince Harry, Meghan Markle, and yes, even Archie and Lilibet of every single royal title and HRH styling they possess. William is done negotiating. He is done turning the other cheek while the Sussexes profit off the crown's reputation. Today we are breaking down why William is taking this hardline stance, how King Charles factors into this, and why this major title showdown is the final nail in the coffin for Montecito. Let's get one thing crystal clear right away. Prince William views the monarchy as a duty, not a brand asset to be pitched to Hollywood executives. Sources close to the Prince of Wales confirm that he sees Harry and Meghan's continued public antics as direct, long-term damage to the British crown. It's not just about hurt feelings anymore. It's about institutional survival. Think about the sheer audacity of the Sussexes. At the Sandringham summit back in 2020, an explicit agreement was made with the late, great Queen Elizabeth II. Harry and Meghan could step down, but they would not use their HRH titles in public or for commercial gain. And what did they do? They turn around and plaster Duchess of Sussex on lifestyle products, sign-offs and commercial ventures whenever it suits them. They use royal status to sell jam, secure podcast deals and get red carpet treatment, while relentlessly bashing the very family that gave them those honours. William sees this for what it is: absolute disrespect to his grandmother's legacy and a complete betrayal of trust. Insiders say William's message is simple: you are either in or you are out. You don't get to monetize the crown from a mansion in Montecito while dumping toxic media leaks onto the working family members back home. Now, where this story gets really intense and where the Sussex camp is reportedly panicking is regarding Archie and Lilibet. Reports indicate that Harry was quietly hoping to lock in HRH statuses for his children. Why? Because keeping those vestigial HRH titles on the shelf allows Archie and Lilibet the option to stroll back into the UK as adults and claim working royal roles whenever they feel like it. To Prince William, that idea is beyond parody. Why on earth should two children, being raised entirely in California with zero connection to British public service, retain royal titles that imply future service to the state? William is reportedly planning to issue new letters patent when he becomes king, formally stripping the right to use HRH from the entire Sussex line. Under a slimmed-down monarchy, titles will be reserved exclusively for those who put in the work, the active, dedicated servants of the crown. Not for Hollywood influencers who use the royal name as a luxury marketing badge. What happens to Harry and Meghan if William strips these titles? It strips away their entire global identity. Let's be real. Without the titles Duke and Duchess, what are they selling? Just Harry and Meghan, two former reality TV-adjacent celebrities complaining about a life of unimaginable privilege they walked away from. They built their entire American career on royal branding. Without it, the Hollywood elite lose interest, the commercial deals dry up, and the hypocrisy is laid bare for the entire world to see. William isn't doing this out of spite or petty revenge. He's doing it to draw a permanent line between the British monarchy and the Sussex circus. He is putting an end to the confusion, protecting public confidence, and ensuring that the crown stands strong for the next generation. Prince William is showing us exactly what kind of king he is going to be. Strong, decisive and uncompromising when it comes to protecting the institution. Harry and Meghan made their bed when they chose money and fame over duty, and now they are going to have to lie in it. What do you think about Prince William's shock plans? Do you think he should strip Harry, Meghan, Archie and Lilibet of their titles immediately? Drop your thoughts in the comments down below. I read every single one of them. If you enjoyed this breakdown, give this video a massive thumbs up. And most importantly, hit that subscribe button and turn on the notification bell so you never miss another update on this channel. We keep you up to date with the raw truth about the royal family every single day. Thanks for watching, stay tuned, and I will see you in the next video.